Wonderful. Hello, everyone. You're all welcome to another episode of Morning with Pastor Wales. I believe these are episode 76. It's been quite some time now. So I want to welcome you all, wherever you might be joining. Either you're going to be joining on Instagram or Facebook. Actually, the program is Facebook Live. So if you're joining me today, I just want to welcome you to another episode of Morning with Pastor Wales. It's been, like I said, quite some time we started this program, and I believe many of you have been so blessed. I am blessed, and I know some of you have reached out to me, knowing that the program is really touching life and doing something great. Anyway, we know we're in the Christmas mood, Christmas week. I think this episode 76 is probably going to be our last episode for this year, because our next Saturday, this program is every Saturday, and next Saturday is going to be Christmas, and before you know, the next one also is going to be New Year. So we'll probably it's going to be falling on our days, but nevertheless, because we like to do it live. So now I'll see what I can do, but definitely no, on Christmas Day we won't be having that. So, but nevertheless, I believe you've been the topic we've been discussing for a while now has been such a blessing to you. I know, like I said, some of you have reached out to me, and they're really have been saying other trend of conversation going on it that I've received. So I believe you're blessed by that. Yeah. So another thing I want to talk about, like I said, Christmas we're in the Christmas mood. You can see even it's cold already in Dallas anyway. It's cold today. Yesterday is warm. Day before yesterday it was pretty cold. Off and on. We're getting used to it. So before we dive into what we want to talk about today, which is the last part of the part 4, which is the last part of the series on conducting personal SWOT analysis for yourself. So before we dive into that, I also want to tell you all, many of you that have been following my program, many of you that are following Pastor Wales, you've been my fan for so long. I believe I started my page on Facebook about 2008, I believe. And many of you since then have joined and followed Pastor Wales. Even as you follow my profile, you also follow me on my page. And I'm really grateful for that. I know also some of you are constantly on my page every day, following up, writing, encouraging, even when I talk or pray, minister every day. Many of you always respond. Not only that, there's a way Facebook shows you the analysis, Facebook analytics shows you how many, it's been popping up every now and then that, these people, so person, and this number of people, they are your constant viewers, that you're always there every day. I really want to appreciate you all. I want to let you know that I really love you, and I'm praying for you, bringing you all before the Lord. And I know something great and powerful is happening already in your life. Either it has not yet been seen by you, manifested by you, but it's about to break loose, and you're going to have great testimony. So apart from that, I also look at it like, what should I do? Maybe probably within Christmas. And I remember I have one of my books that I've published for some time now. It's called Spirit Outpour. I don't know, maybe I know some of you have already seen it before. You've had the book before. It's been on Amazon for quite long. And it's been on Amazon and some other websites. It's been Amazon Kindle or something like that. And what I want to do is that we're going to make the book available for some of you, at least probably about 100 of you. I mean, the first 100 people that have always been constantly on our page and reaching out. I'm going to definitely make those books available for you on Kindle to be able to, to download it free on Kindle. Or also, if you are the type that you can send in your mailing address or something like that, we'll probably mail in the hard copy for you. But if not, I'll definitely reach out to those people, those numbers, and send in a link for you to be able to download from Kindle, so you can download it over Kindles and be able to read the book. It's a very powerful book. It's called Spirit Outpour. You see, Spirit Outpour by Pastor Wales, a weekly digest devotion for humble hearts. You see, that book, it's a collection of a kind of this every weekly, because then I used to do a weekly digest, and I write stuff every week, and those words and those things are so powerful. They're things that, many people that have read the book from, some of them tend to follow it up and read it weekly and pray with it and sort of like a practicalize and gain knowledge on what's been written in the book. And I tell you, they've been blessed. There are people that their life totally changed. Some people have even used it as a guide to just build their spiritual life. And it's a book that will make you to definitely build your spiritual life. Yeah, because every word, every articles, everything I wrote for every week, every one of them are strategically targeted at building your spiritual life, getting you from where you are to a greater levels of understanding. And then by the time you finish the book, I tell you, your spiritual life will never remain the same. I have some another volume of that book. I believe it's volume 1, there's volume 2, and some other ones. But this very one, I'm going to be giving it out to. And if you just want to purchase it, you can search for it on Amazon. On Amazon, you can see it there, or you go on our website. If you go on our website on the Blizzard Fire, even on our shop on Facebook, you definitely find it there. And on Amazon, you can always get it. Search or Google it. You will find it on some other places that carry it. So, but let's get to what we want to discuss today. As we're going to do that, let's go ahead and pray. And I believe you have your coffee already. Then we can talk over coffee. So, blessed Father, we thank you. Awesome, glorious, gracious God. We are grateful. We thank you for all you've been doing. Mighty, mighty awesome things you've done in our life. From the beginning of this year to this hour. From the time we shout, Happy New Year, that we cross over into this year, up to now, like, Father God, you've been grateful to us. You've been so, you've been gracious to us, and we are grateful. We are grateful. We are grateful. We thank you. We thank you, Spirit of the Living God, for directing, for leading, for preserving us, for ministering to us daily, for counseling us, for raising help for us, because you are our helper. Yes, the Bible tells us, it said, when the enemy shall come like a flood, it said the Spirit of God will lift up a standard against it. We thank you for every standard that you've lifted up against intruder in our life, against those things that comes against us. We are grateful, Father, and I'm grateful and thankful for all my fans, every one of them that have been following me for quite long now. Lord, I appreciate you. I appreciate them, and I thank you for them. I pray for them. And I pray my daily prayer for them, Lord, that you will authenticate, you will manifest in their life in Jesus' name. Amen and amen. Hallelujah. What an awesome God that we serve. So, beloved, you all know the drill. Get your coffee. Let's talk. I like that coffee. I brewed a new version of, a new brand of Colombia coffee. My wife got it, so it's great. I like it. It's really good. So you have your coffee already? Let's discuss. Let's talk. If you all remember, we started with on this series that we're going to be ending today, I believe. We started with branding, like a kind of branding yourself. I wanted to discuss on this branding yourself series so that you can look at yourself in a different way, the way you can put yourself out rightly and doing the right thing. So if you haven't listened to this, if you're just joining today, you can always go back and watch last video and the video before the last that talks about those. Part 1, part 2, part 3. Today is part 4. But today we're going to be focusing on, the whole topic is conducting a personal SWOT analysis. After starting with branding yourself, we got to a level that we say you have to conduct a personal SWOT analysis of yourself, so you can know your strengths, your weakness, your opportunity, and your traits. And your trait. So today we're going to be talking about your trait. My trait, if I would say. So, like I said, if you have to look at my trait, your trait, if I would say trait in general, because we've talked about analyzing our strength, our weakness, and all we discuss when we're looking at our weaknesses, all we discuss on that, they are very, very useful at this time when we are evaluating our traits. Okay, so you have that one handy. So I would say trait, analyzing our trait will be those things or people that could derail, that could derail probably your positive image and personal brand. Those things or people that could derail them, they're the things you want to focus on now. And with a kind of clear consideration of focusing on those things, you'll be able to, it will enable you, it will enable you to plan around the things that that these things are truly uncontrollable. Because there are some things that are uncontrollable. There are things that you can still control. There's some they're beyond what you can ever control. So you can identify the ones that are uncontrollable and the ones that are controllable that you can deal with. And so I would say our first question that we'll probably ask ourselves, our number one step that we'll take, will probably be asking ourselves, what obstacle am I currently facing in life? What levels of threat is this to me? And is this a physical, spiritual, or financial obstacle? You want to identify that. What is the obstacle I'm facing in life? It may be job-wise, it may be family. When I say family, it may not be immediately in your family, maybe your external forces or external influence on your family. That's a threat, So you want to look at all these. What are these things? What is the level of it to me? When I say what is the level of it to me, is that you want to know the level of the threat it is. If it's just a little level that has not been getting to the level where you can really flag it as a serious threat to you, then you know the step you can take towards it. If it's that level, if the level is already in a minimum level, I would say mid-level, you want to know. But if that level is severe level, that is a do or die stuff. That is something that can really affect your life totally. So you want to know that. What level are these threats to me? Then another thing is this a spiritual, physical, or financial threat? If it's physical threat, No, when I say physical threat could involve, it may involve a kind of mental health issue. It may involve things that maybe people are aggressively coming against you. Maybe at workplace, maybe in the ministry, maybe some people they just don't like the way you do things, and they begin to stand against you, be a kind of making things difficult for you. You know, they're coming physically. They're doing those things in a physical way. You get what I mean? You know, an example of such thing could be, maybe it could be a neighbor. That every time you do certain thing, maybe you put your trash this thing around your house, or you walk about your side of your house, that your neighbor don't like it, and each time he's coming, you know, physically throwing words to you that he doesn't like, you know, that's a threat. You know, you want to look at something like that. I'm just giving an example. It may not be that. I'm just giving an example of what could be physical. It may even be at work. You know, let me give you an example of at work. I found out that that's a personal example now. There's a time when each time I try to park, where I park in my workplace, there's this guy, every time he park, he would just come and park close to my door. I think he or she doesn't know how to park, something like that. It would just park and cross, and then if I'm already parked, if I want to get into the car, I won't be able to get in the car. I won't be able to open my car. And all this. So one day I have to wait and see who is this person. I have to keep a watch and try to discuss with that person that is really disturbing. But within that time, I took the picture, I do that. And before then, this thing has been happening. It's not one time. So when I found this out as a kind of threat to me, and I don't want to confront, I don't want to make a kind of confrontational stuff, what did I do? I changed my parking spot. I changed my parking spot and take to another place, and far away. That caused me to walk longer, do a kind of longer walk before getting to my office. But nevertheless, I still move away from there to mitigate the kind of confrontational stuff with that person, and also just to not to get involved in any kind of stuff like that, because I can easily start confronting the person and look for a solution like that. But I don't want to do that. I just take another measure, that is parking another place. But somehow it happened that even after trying that, I changed my spot. After trying that, then the same person, I think there's another day, that person didn't get to that place where he used to park, and he parked again where I used to park. And this time around, the person parked so close. I take my car, when I get off, when I get down, it hasn't parked. But when I wanted to come and pick my car, they already parked there. So I took my phone and I took the picture. I still have the picture in my phone today. And that picture was that the car, I cannot open my door to get in, the passenger side to get, the driver's side to get in. So I have to follow the passenger side to get in. But since I don't know where the person is or whose office is, I took that picture and I report it to the owners of the building. It's a big office block, so there's a parking spot for everybody. So they try to identify that person and try to, and later find out it was a lady, and I believe maybe that person just didn't know how to park or something like that, or just like to park on the line. So, but the point I'm trying to make was that the measure I took was to totally now move away and park far away, where you can stand your car, nobody. And you know what? I have another advantage. I walk a little longer to get to my office. But look at what I mean by walking a little longer. I get a chance to exercise myself. Walking, it's good. I just don't want to be, it's sort of like a kind of short workout for me, and I like it. So it may be a physical thing like that. You want to identify all those things. And another thing is a spiritual. Spiritual, we talked about it last week. I mean, the last, on our last episode. Spiritual important. The things that are spiritual threat, that maybe that thing it has a spiritual influence. You want to identify it. And once you identify the spiritual influence, you know you have to be more prayerful. That's the way to mitigate it. That's the way to stand against it. That's the way to, the measure that you, the rightful measure that you can take against that. You know, get into your prayer mood very well. You know, the Bible tells us about putting on the whole armor of God. I believe Ephesians 6 from 10 to 18. It tells us about putting on the whole armor of God. It said we are not fighting against flesh and blood, but we fight against principalities and power and rulers of darkness in high places. So what that means is that, excuse me, I think I need to get my coffee. What that means is that once you have identified that, you need to get into your warfare mode. You know, prayerful very well. Prayerful, be vigilant, as the Bible says. You know, the Bible also tells us that the devil is like a roaring lion, you know, going all about, seeking who he may devour. And he has come to seek, to steal, to kill, and to destroy. That's what the devil do. And in spiritual warfare, you don't want to take anything lightly at all. You want to really take the right measure. So you want to identify that. If it's financial, you know, financial could come in any form. But I mean, financial could come, maybe it could be maybe as a result of your income, maybe as a result of you overspending. You want to be sure what that threat is. If it's spiritual threat, financial threat that comes as a result of your spending, then you want to change your spending attitude. You know, I know somebody like that, it's been long time that cancer, it's been very long time. All the problem with this person has, the lady, what the problem she has is just like she likes shopping. She just like buying stuff, things that she don't need. She just buy it and buy and buy and buy. And you know what? It's not that those things is buying, is using them or keeping them. Some he may use it one time and he never uses it. Some she never even used them. But it's a problem, it becomes a spiritual problem for her because she kept buying and spending and wasting all those money. So when it becomes a financial problem for her, mind you, what the person always do is that he buy and after a while he goes and return it. He goes and return it. That's a problem. You know, some people think it's just a hobby. It's a mental problem somehow. So if you don't know, somehow it could be a mental health issue that needs to be dealt with. So you want to identify that and take care of it. Another question you want to ask yourself is, are any of my colleagues competing with me for the same role or project? You know, it might be like that. Maybe you have people who are competing with you. You know, some people are like that. They believe life is just competing. You know, instead of them doing something for themselves, they identify people and competing with them. Some people are like that. And when they're competing, sometimes when they compete to destroy. They compete to create problem for somebody. So competing with somebody sometimes could be in a way that they are competing to destroy you, competing to have a negative effect on you. That's a threat to your life. That's a threat to your income. That's a threat to your ministry. It could be like you see. I've always tell people this has to do with the ministry. I always tell people that in ministry, or ministry, Christian life as a believer, as a preacher, all those things, is not a life of competition. You are called to preach. You are called to speak the word of God to people. Do it as God giving you the mandate. Do it as God giving you the power and the grace to do. Not only that, the mission, the mandate God give each one of us are different. So why do you have to compete when it's different? You do your own. But you know what? There are many in the Christian world, in the Christian life, in the ministry, in churches, in ministry generally, that all they do is just to compete with another pastor, another minister, another man and woman of God. That's what they do. So if you identify that, you want to be sure that that's the case. That's not the case. But when you identify people who are just competing to have negative effect on you, that's another thing I'm trying to, that what they do, they competing in everything you do to affect you. That's not good. So you want to identify such thing, and once you identify what you do, you take measure to mitigate it. The measure you might take may be a prayer measure. It may be a way of have a personal, discussion. If it's just people who are closer, a kind of one-on-one discussion of way to set things straight. Because when you set things straight in as a believer, you're doing it because you don't want to have grudges with somebody. 1, 2. You're doing it because the other person. That's the way I think. The other person has to know that as a believer, you cannot have grudge with another person. You cannot fight each other. So once you're able to say it out, you can say it and everything be done there. Nobody have any issue on anybody. But why did I mention this? Because it's happening. We see it every time. Look at it. An example may be maybe because you have a ministry, you have some things that you do, and you have other ministry that are close to you or around you, that whenever you do an event or you do a conference or do a meeting or a crusade, that other people from other church or your friends comes to do that. What these people do, I said competing. Those people that have that kind of spirit of competition in the ministry, what do? Many of them will try creating an event or another meeting on that day so that they can do what? So that they can deny those people that want to come, that you already invited, or people that wanted to have the desire to be at your meeting or at your conference or at your crusade or whatever you're doing, to attend it. I don't know if you've seen that. It happened. I've seen it many times. I've canceled people on it too. It has happened to me too. So those people, sometimes some of those people, they don't know that they are doing that. But because their life is just a life of competing to move forward. Because some people, that's what they do. That's what they do as a way to move forward, as a way to see that they're doing something higher. So that if they can compete with you, whatever they see that they move up, that's their mentality. So I believe it's a spiritual problem for some that they don't know. But I'm not against people that are doing that. That's their nature. That's their ways of life. They need to figure it out themselves. They need, God will help them as one continue to pray for them. But the point is that when you identify such people, you take measure to mitigate such thing so that it will not be affecting you. What I mean by it not be affecting you is like, let's say you already make your plan, your budget, your everything around the people that wanted to probably support you or be there to be or encourage you and something like that. And what happened? You find out that their pastor or their church overseer or something like that deliberately, I'm telling you, deliberately create an hindrance for them so that they will not attend. I've seen it when I was in Nigeria. I've seen it when I traveled to places like Croatia. I've seen it when I was in London, having an event in London. I've seen it when I was in Serbia, in many places. So it's not only even in America or in Africa, it's all around. When there was one of these events we were having in Croatia one time, even one of the members and one of our guests have to show me what their pastors were saying that they should not attend the event. Can you imagine? Is that not what I don't know whether that's competing spirit or a kind of a way to just hold people bound. I don't know. But it happened. Whereas we've been in places where you have event, you see even other ministers. They reach out to you, some you reach out to them. They carry around, they rally around to support it, to do everything that they can do, as I used to do. I used to support people too, like that. Well, some are not like that. They will stand on the way of those people that want to be part of what God is doing. Or for them to come and even learn or be blessed. I don't know, maybe it's ringing a bell to you. But that's what it's happening in businesses. It's happening in job places too. The same thing. In job places, you see people who do that. They compete in office. I remember one person, there's a lady in one of my workplaces one time. This lady, all he just do was trying to compete with other people and bring them down. He compete with other people and bring them down. How does he bring them down? He tried to look at things that they are weakness and make a kind of report to the people who are ahead of her. And then what happened? They will discipline those people, or they will transfer those people, or reposition those people to another place. Then what happened? They will give her the opportunity, or they will create a position for her, or they will shift her up, move her up to another level there. And this person keep doing that, this lady keep doing that. The moment I found it on the first one, second time, I identify, I say, oh, I know this kind of people. I continue to pray for her on my own, and on my own, actually it's not in my department then, and apart from that, I'm above in the department where, so we have nothing in common. But those people around our department, she was just doing all that. So you get what I'm saying? There are people like that in the world, in business. In offices, in career level, job wise. In business, it's the same thing. They compete with you. Each time they know you're going out for one contract or one project, that will be the same project they're going to be doing. So you want to be sure you identify those people and take measure. Your measure could be, measure to mitigate it could be prayer. That's one of the major things. You have to be very prayerful. Prayer, then taking the right action. Right action of doing the things that you need to do rightly. Organizing yourself rightly. If the person that's competing with you is competing over expatriate, over skill or all those things, you also move forward. Get the right skill. We've talked about that when we were talking about when we were discussing on the strengths and the weaknesses. If skill is what that person they're using against you, you take your time and get the right skill. If it's education, take your time, get the right education so that you can be above them. You can be able to stand whatever measure they're trying, whatever things they're using against to compete with you. So you want to see that you're doing the right thing in that level. Another thing we would like to talk about, could be, we're talking about competing. Another thing could be, maybe you want to ask yourself, this personal analysis, you want to ask yourself, is my career ministry or business on demand? Is it changing? Is things changing? You want to know the trends of your business career and all those things. What I mean by it's changing is anything changing? Is anything on demand there? Is it demanding you to do something more better? That you just don't say, oh, I'm working so in one place or doing this. You just rely on whatever you're doing. You're not building skill. You're not thinking to advance more. You just stay put in that level. It's not good. You have to see, because things in this world are always revolving. So you want to see, is everything changing around me? And you want to go with the change. You want to see that you're beating the change, that you're going ahead of it. Okay? Like, sometimes I find out that some of the things I've taught, some of us taught long time, is what people are doing now. I remember streaming on internet and all those things, streaming. We've been doing it since 2008, 2000 and something like that, or more than that. And people are now really doing it every time. You know what I'm saying? So you want to look ahead and see and be able to prepare for those things that are changing. So if it's your job wise that things are changing, you want to get ready to prepare ahead of it so you can be ready for it. If it's in your ministry, you want to prepare and get ahead of it. I know some of these things are hard, but those are the things you have to be thinking to be able to identify the threats, and then be able to take measure to mitigate the threats. So, like I said, even in the business, you want to be ahead, envision it ahead, and take measure before it comes down to you. So, another one I would say, I've already deal with 1.23. Our third point will be, does changing in technology threaten my position or career or my ministry? I can say, does it threaten your life in general? No. But is technology threatening your position? What I mean is that, like I say, that things are evolving. Technology is moving faster. The last decade compared to now is different. In the early 2000s, technology were moving slowly. Between 1998 to 2000, it was moving slowly. 2000 to 2003, 2005, it was still moving a little bit faster. So by the time you get to 2005 and 2010, it was becoming faster. Look at it. Between 2010 up to now, it's like it's on a speed. It's so fast. Remember, many of you remember that those days when you have a phone, like cell phone or something like that, or laptop or computer, all those things, it takes a long time before you change it. Maybe 5 years. Maybe you have a phone, you use it for like 3, 4 years, 5 years, all that kind of stuff. Now, you have a phone. A new one's already come out 3 months after that. Before you know, 6 months after that, before you know, another one already come out. So you found out that the phone that you thought you have a good brand, in the next 2 years, it becomes an old fashioned. It becomes something that is not new no more, something that is already be outdated. Not extremely outdated, but it's no more meeting some of this trend. Look at it, even cars. You have an automobile car, you sort of like, it's a good car, it has everything good, it's a top of the line, but you know what? In another 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, you find out that car you thought it was so great that time, it become an old car, because new features already comes out. So you want to be on the top of such things. Technologies, how is it threatening your position? How is it threatening your career? How is it threatening everything around you? The threat I'm talking about there is for you to get ready, to be proactive on that level, to be proactive on technology. You know, you want to look ahead and see where technology is going, so you'll be ready for it. So you want to look at that. It could be a threat, because what I mean by it could be a threat is that, yes, this is a good example. If you all remember those days when the bankers in banks, they used to have a lot of bankers, people, cashiers, all those things in bank, that there used to be so many. You get to the banking hall, you see every one of them line up. I mean, all the kiosks or whatever. I mean, each of the desks or tables of each of the cashiers, that you can go to any one of them that you want. But what is happening now? After a while, we found out that something changed. Technology began to change. The bank began to reduce the number of people and using ATM. So they increase technology by you getting money on ATM machine and using all other things, whereas they reducing number of cashiers and telling cashiers or what, I don't know what they call them. But the point there is that people were losing their job. So when people were losing their job because of technology, what did those people do? Some of them, they retire. Some of them look at it, maybe their career has ended, whereas some of them they got back into the labor market, retrain themselves, acquire new skill, new technology skill, and then move forward. So those are the things you want to be sure that you are not caught up with those things that could affect you. They are threat, so you have to be ready for it. You know, like nowadays, I remember those days that I believe you can relate to this. I said maybe 10 years ago, when you get to a bank, the highest you could get from an ATM machine, probably maybe $300 on an ATM machine in America. But you find out that even now, you can walk into the bank and not even talk to the teller and use the machine and get maybe up to $2,000 on the ATM machine without dealing with the cashiers at all. You see, so the machine are more working faster. I'm just using bank as an example. You know, you could be an automobile industry. Things are getting faster. They're using robots to do a lot of things right now. Most industry are going robotic. They're using all these things, and even look at machine learning, AI. You can see all that. All this moving faster to the level that you can ask, you may not engage with somebody when you call for a customer service. Machine will be talking to you. I might be sitting there at home and telling Alexa, do this. Alexa, I don't want to talk about it because if I say it, it might pick up, many of my device here might pick up that and start answering me. These are things that are changing. They're changing, but they could be a threat to your career if you're not standing right, if you're not moving with it. So you want to be on the right start. So another thing we want to talk about, another point is, could any of my physical, okay, this question, could any of my physical or spiritual weaknesses lead to threats? Can it lead to threats? Why do you have to ask this question? It is a good question. It is a good question to really analyze yourself, your threat, to be sure what you're facing. Because things that you know as your weakness, those things that are your weakness will end up turning into what? Threat to you. Because once you identify as your weakness, when we deal with the weaknesses before, you identify some of those things. And if you don't take measure against those things to strengthen yourself there, to identify them and strengthen yourself there, it becomes a threat to you. Because the enemy will use it against you. They will use your weakness. Like I said earlier before, concerning the person that spend money. If you already know when you are doing your weakness, you identify that spending anyhow is your weakness. That you can't just hold money every time you just spend anything unnecessarily. You already identify as your weakness. What is the next thing you need to do? You need to control it. You need to deal with it. Because if you don't deal with it, the enemy will use it against you as a threat. So they can attack or influence you in that area. Negative influence. So, and when you identify those things, is it physical or spiritual? If it's spiritual, if it's physical, you want to take physical measure to attack it or to mitigate it. If it's physical, like I said, physical could be controlling yourself from spending. Let me give you an example of myself. I know that if I have a lot of money on me and I go to a shop like in America here, maybe electronic store like Fry's, where they sell all these electronic gadgets, all those kind of stuff. I know that if I have a lot of money on me, I will spend it. I will buy things that maybe computers things or technology things like that. I will end up buying and just buy it. So this have been happening to me many times. I know anything, maybe computer stuff, I just buy it, I want to buy it. And I know it's affecting me financially because some of those things I buy, I end up after using them, or some I don't use, I just keep them in my garage, and then some become something I never use, or I use it for a short time. And when I identify that that's a weakness, it may not be a weakness, but I identify it could be a weakness. So what did I do? When I go to the store like that, sometimes I keep my wallet, my card, I put in my car. Sometimes I give it to my wife to keep so that I won't spend it. You know what I'm trying to say? So I begin to look away to really physically take measure not to do it. So sometimes I just say, and I'm not stopping there. I'm focusing on what I want to buy. I'm just going there, pick up what I want, and get out. I'm not going to do window shopping. I'm not going to go look around other things, because if I look it up, I may buy it if I have the money. So I take those measures. So that's one of the things I'm trying to let you know, that you begin to take those measures, physical measure. You want to know if it's physically, like I said, that's physical. And if it's spiritual weakness, that this could lead to a threat. Spiritual weakness, maybe your prayer life is going down the hole. You are not praying very well again. You that used to be on fire, you find that you are not praying again. You that used to pray every day, you find that maybe you pray once in a week. That's a problem that you need to identify, and you need to deal with it before it goes too far. Are you with me? So you want to identify those problems, and you want to deal with it before it goes too far. Before it goes too far. So I remember one time, this is an example. I remember one time I met a guy. I was ministering to that person. That time I used to do like a street ministration sometimes. So while I was doing that, this guy was a Okada driver. He drive bike, and this guy, we were on the machine, and I speak to him, preach the word of God to him, and the guy said, that he has a problem. That what was his problem? His problem was that he said he used to do a street early morning choir. that he go out early morning and preach in the corner of the street. You know, he will have his microphone and go to the street and say, in the name of Jesus, give your life to Jesus. He used to do all those things. So he said he used to do this every day, every time. I don't know, maybe I can't remember, maybe 3 times a week or something like that. And he goes out early morning like 5 a.m. and do it till maybe 6 for people that are going out. And this guy said he couldn't do it no more. That he began to reduce, and after a while he can't do it. He found like he's always tired to get up, all those things. The point I'm making is that it became a weakness for him. He identified it. And so when he talk about it, what do he say? This is a spiritual issue. I invite him to my office. He came around. We prayed. So I booked an appointment with me. He came, and that day I prayed with him. And you know what? The fire of God fell on him. He was equipped, empowered, on fire for Christ. And then he left. Then after some few days or weeks, or a week, I think a week after that time, he came back to my office and said he was looking for me, and they let her into my office. One of my secretary let him in. And I came. He said, oh, he just wanted to come and thank me that he started doing that thing, and you know what, he's doing it even more than the way he's been doing it before. I was so happy for him, and I thank God. The point I'm trying to make is that that's a spiritual problem, and he identified. He knows that is going to affect what God wants him to do. So that's just an example. There are many, many other spiritual things, you know. And I told him, the moment the enemy, the devil, or your enemy out there identify your weakness, they will come against you through your weaknesses. They identify it, they will bring everything they have to deal with you from your weak point. So you have to address your weaknesses and see that it doesn't become a threat. So you want to identify it if it's going to lead to a threat. So another one about rounding up, another one that you need to deal with, that you might need to ask yourself is, do I have weakness now that are genuinely holding me back? Is any of these weaknesses holding me back? Once you identify those things, it's a vulnerability for you. You need to start addressing it. You want to deal with it so they are not holding you back from moving forward, from doing the right thing, from doing things you expect to do in life, from achieving, from getting ahead, from God elevating you, for even doing what God expects of you. Another things you want to ask yourself is there a person or people, who are genuinely an obstacle to my plans? There's some people like that. They are an obstacle. They're just out to destroy you. They're just out to make things difficult for you in life. You want to identify those things, because sometimes you don't have people like that, and sometimes you just have those people that just believe they just want to affect you. They just want to be an obstacle to your progress, an obstacle to your blessing. They sit on your progress. They sit on your blessing. They sit on your promotion. If once you identify such people, you need to be on your knees and pray. And pray that God deal with such thing for you. You know, there are people like that. I've seen people that have counseled and prayed for in the past, that all their situation was just somebody in their office just believed that they should not promote that person. And they keep standing on the way. But you know what? By the time God will have his way, when I minister to that person and pray with that person and tell that person to be more strategic in his or her prayer, what happened? That person was transferred. There was an order from above that changed the whole thing. make a reposition, and the person that they've been sitting on his promotion for long, what happened? Letter came from above that then elevates that person. So you want to identify that. So you want to be sure, like I said, and we said earlier, that the book of Ephesians 6:10-18. You need to read that. You need to read it and be sure that you're following what the Bible tells you. I mean, that some of these threats may not be spiritual. It may be spiritual. And then you are not fighting against flesh and blood. So again, when you're not fighting against flesh and blood, means you're not fighting with somebody physically, but you're fighting with the spiritual power that is using those people. So you have to be able to strategically address it with your prayer. Another thing that very important we need to know, because once you identify all this as your vulnerability, you want to take measure to mitigate it. And that is, the Bible tells us, I'll read it. The Bible tells us in the book of James. Let me read. James chapter 2, verse 14-18. You can read it also yourself. James chapter 2, verse, look at what the Bible says. He said, what doeth it profit, my brethren? Though a man say he hath faith, and have not work, he said, can faith save him? If a brother or a sister be naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you say unto them, depart in peace, be ye warm and filled, and notwithstanding ye give them not those things which are needful to the body. He said, what does it profit? What does it profit? He said, even so faith, if has not worked, is dead. Being alone, he said, a man may say, thou art faith, and I have worked. Show me the faith without the work, and I will show thee my faith by my works. What it's simply saying is that faith without work is dead. Is dead. What I mean by without work means without action. You have to put an action with it. That means when you find all these things as your threat and you're praying, you're praying and standing in faith. Many of it you have to take action. Those actions are what I said. You have to take the measure to mitigate those things. They're things you have to do yourself. Don't just fold your hands. Don't deny yourself those things. Take measure. Walk your faith. So those things you need to do. Some people, they'll tell you, you'll be praying for them, and they're not doing anything. They're not even taking steps towards what you've taken. You've counseled them in a way that they need to take action and do those things. And some of them, they just rely on prayer alone. Prayer is good, but you have to take action. The action is important. And you know what? To many other people also, procrastinating on his own is a threat. People like to procrastinate. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Oh, I'll do it next tomorrow. Let's look at what the definition of procrastination means. It said, procrastination is the action of unnecessarily and voluntarily denying or postponing something despite knowing that there will be negative consequence for doing so. You don't want to find yourself in that level. Yeah. You don't want to find yourself in that level.